She began with an ordinary waitress girl, and with time, she became a phenomenon of the 80s music industry. Stay tuned as we reveal to you the untold stories and rare photos of celebrity American singer Laura Branigan, who's popularly known for the song Gloria. Childhood Laura was born on July 3rd, 1952 in Mount Kisco, New York. She and her younger brother William have been greatly involved with the art of music since a very tender age. Laura's life wasn't exactly easy. While she was still a teenager, her parents separated. She combined studies at drama school with working part-time as a waitress. Finally, after graduation, Laura met the people who would give her an advance in the world of music. In 1972, she met Walker Daniels and his wife Sharon Storm. The three, along with acoustic guitarist Chris Van Cleve, started playing folk rock music as Meadow. The band didn't work. The failure of the first album caused it to break up, and Daniels committed suicide. Yet there was a lining to all those dark clouds. Laura met talent manager Sid Bernstein in 1979, and through his influence, Branigan got signed with Atlantic Records. 2 years later, she released her pop single, Looking Out for #1, from her unreleased album Silver Dreams. Breakthrough year 1982 turned out to be Branigan's breakthrough year. Her pop single reached number 60 on the US dance chart, while her 9-track debut album entitled Branigan named her to the world. Laura did a cover version of the 1979 Italian love song Gloria, originally composed by 𝚑𝚘𝚑𝚘𝚘𝚘 Tozzi, and it became one of the greatest hits of the 80s. Her album was certified gold, and the single Gloria went platinum, reaching number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart and staying there for a record 36 weeks at that time for a female artist. Additionally, it garnered a Grammy nomination for Best Pop Vocal Performance, Female. The album Branigan also included the hit All Night With Me, a top 40 single that further positioned her in the music world. It was the overall success of the album Self Control and Gloria, in particular, that brought Laura Branigan to the forefront of public attention, making 1982 a breakthrough year in her career. The energetic dance pop sound of Gloria, featuring Branigan's powerful mezzo-soprano voice, resonated with many people and sealed her status in the early 80s pop scene. Since then, the song has been covered by several artists and still remains a staple classic. Her second studio album became her most successful work so far, Self Control. This album was released in 1984 and became one of the biggest hits and is believed to be one of Laura's signature songs. The album reached the top 5 positions in many continental European countries and attained platinum certification. Laura's cover of RAF's Self Control sent her to the #1 position in Australia and Canada. Self Control also ranked number 4 on the US. It reached Billboard Hot 100, and finally, Laura was living her dream, which she had longed for. However, in the long run, circumstances out of Laura's control would sabotage her career, which culminated into her untimely death. It would be pretty safe to say life was cruel to the glorious star. A tragic end. Branigan was at that time just coming out with what was to be her last recording in 1993, and another collaboration, this time with David Hasselhoff, proved to be a huge success, but the singer was still very much in demand. She plunged into world tours, stage appearances, and was fully booked at times for a whole year. But just at the height of the success, tragedy struck. Laura met her husband, a lawyer called Larry Krutek, in Manhattan at a party back in 1978. Their love was instant and passionate. The fact that he was 16 years her senior mattered little. According to the singer, it made him more understanding and less possessive. He became her business manager. Laura had dealt with bad management before that time. Not only was he much older than her, but Larry also came with a lot of baggage. He had 2 children from his previous marriage. However, that was a small price to pay, considering that Larry could bring into her life the one thing that it was lacking: stability. Unfortunately, their marriage came to a very tragic end. In 1996, Larry was diagnosed with colon cancer. Laura, being quite distressed, refused to accept the medical prognosis and started trying everything she could to save her husband's life with herbs. She managed to extend his estimated time of survival, but could not outrun death. Larry remained alive for 2.5 years with the care of his wife, but passed away on June 15, 1996. After his death, Laura stopped performing entirely. She never recorded new music and performed in public again. That showed how much the mark of her loss weighed upon her. How did she cope? But in fact, this American singer found it difficult to establish herself in the music industry after the loss of not only her husband, but her career manager. Branigan kept away from the stage, though she managed to accept interviews and a few public appearances. On August 15, 1995, Laura appeared on the TV show Talking Food, hosted by Robin Leach, and around this time, she was also selected as an international juror for a music competition. Meanwhile, everybody knew she was suffering, but about that subject, the singer said very few words. Did she find love again? Yes, she did. This time being the lever. 𝚘𝚘𝚔𝚎 was the man Branigan loved during her last 8 months of life. 𝚘𝚔 had been the drummer in her band. However, before their love would blossom, Laura finally wanted to go back to stage performance. The fall. Unfortunately, she would get into an accident which would put her into therapy for another 6 months. According to reports, Laura fell off a 10-foot ladder while hanging wisteria outside her 3-bedroom lakeside house in Westchester County, New York. She broke both her thigh bones, and even after they healed, the singer needed time and physical therapy to mentally recover from the shock of the fall. But that was not the only battle she faced. Throughout the 80s and into the early 90s, there was a common tradition of drug and substance abuse associated with many bands. Though it is not certain Laura's band did drugs, Laura mentioned that her band probably participated in such things when asked if she had issues with drugs and drinking in the past. Laura said, "I think it is important to have a happy life. It wasn't a real problem, but very seldom does one come along without doing it." If Laura's definition of living well included alcohol and drugs, then perhaps Laura Branigan was a fan until she died. Death. There are not many deaths mentioned with such a shock, such as when the world seemed to freeze on August 26, 2004, when Laura Branigan died in her sleep was reported. The cause of her death was unknown at that moment she died, a fact that saw many speculations. It was later revealed by her brother Mark that she had died due to a brain aneurysm. Singer had complained of headaches in weeks prior to her death, but she had told no one. Maybe if she visited the hospital, she could have been alive by now, because an Associated Printing Press had an error. Many people considered the singer to die at 47, but Laura was actually 52 when she died. Her body was cremated and her ashes were spread over Long Island Sound. The singer is survived by her mother, Kathleen, her 2 brothers, Mark and Billy, and her sister, Susan. All her life, Branigan had said, "My most passionate desire is to be remembered as my role model." When she died, many of her followers remarked on that statement. Laura once said in an interview that the music wouldn't be worth it if she wasn't remembered as much as the French music star Edith Piaf. Indeed, Piaf sang with her heart, establishing between her and her audience that emotional bond, which is what Laura wanted, the ultimate love affair with her audience. Years after her death, her musical influence is still prevailing in the industry since no one else can fill a huge gap in the fans' hearts. Musical influence. The Laura Branigan Memorial Scholarship is conferred to seniors who excel at Byram Hills High School in Armonk, New York. In turn, the professional ice hockey team St. Louis Blues sponsored Gloria as their victory song. As one player put it, whenever we come back into the dressing room after a win, we yell in the room, "Play Gloria!" It puts a smile on our faces and we have a good time with it. Laura Branigan may be gone, but she pulled off that one thing her heart most desperately wanted, the ultimate love affair with her audience. If you like this video, check out this other related video on the beautiful actresses of yesteryears on the end.